Hey everybody, welcome back to Blue Liner Mill Service. My name is Scott and this is part 2 of our Dutch Beaumont model 1871/88 video. We did part 1 last Sunday, and so happy Sunday Gun Day to you again on this Sunday. And no, this is not a Dutch Beaumont. This is actually an Italian Vitali, and this is actually the oldest firearm I own. So before we get to the video on the Dutch Beaumont-Vitali, I thought I'd put this up here and show you the other rifle that has the Vitali system on it, which is this one. So this was originally made with no magazine system here. It was made, this one is the oldest one that I own. It was made in 1878. And when it was made in 1878, it had no magazine. So you could just imagine it. It was a straight open and close. You open it up, put your black powder cartridge, close the bolt, fire, open the bolt, pull the old one out, put the new one. So you had to single load every single one. And then in 1887, when G. Vitali of the Italian Artillery Corps came up with this idea of the magazine to make this a repeater. So they put a little cutoff on here. That's what this little thing is right here. They modified the receiver here, made it a little bit larger, and then they put this magazine system on here. Unlike the Dutch, they actually put this metal piece on here to strengthen the wood, which the Dutch did not do, which is why we have those cracks in the wood on the Dutch Beaumont. So that's the original Vitali magazine system as it went on the Italian Vitali rifle. So, and as I said, this one was made in 1878 originally, and then it was modified in 1887. So this is the Italian Vitali. And so now we're going to get to the video of part 2 of our Dutch Beaumont model 1871/88. And we're going to go through the stock, we're going to go through the metal pieces, and then we'll end with us putting the bolt back together and putting it in. So here is the part 2 of the Dutch Beaumont. Okay, so here is an update on the stock. We have everything off of it. There's no metal left except for that little tang down here, but I'm not going to worry about that. I did go ahead and fix the 2 cracks I showed you about, but there was an issue, and it has to do this. The crack on this side here wasn't too bad. We were able to get epoxy in there fairly easy, and it's nice and solid. You can still see the crack. There's no way to undo that. The one on the other side went a lot further and a lot deeper into the stock than I initially thought when we took this thing apart. So, but I believe I did get it stabilized and epoxied good enough. What I've decided is I will never be able to shoot this firearm. I just don't want to put that at risk. Even though I did epoxy, it does seem to be solid. I'm just not going to shoot any rounds through this. So we did go ahead and clean this, degrease the stock. I went ahead and cleaned it as best I could, got as much of the crud and that out of it. So you can see it here. There is still some dark spots on there. There's nothing I can do about that, but those are underneath the barrel bands anyway, so it's not that serious. And so what we're going to do now is start treating the stock. So you can see where the crack on this went all the way up. So went all the way up here. So we're not going to be putting this under any stress. We're just going to finish the stock, and then we're going to put the gun back together, and it's going to go up on the wall. or in the rack or whatever we decide to do with it. So treating the stock now, I did some steel wool, 4/0 steel wool, and then we whiskered it. Whiskering is a great thing for wood before you do anything with it. And basically that's, once we've gotten it where we want to be, there are little whiskers that stick up, and so we have to get rid of that. So we use water and a rag. We wet the rag, we wet this here, and we rapidly uh, dry it with a heat gun, and that takes care of the wood whiskers. And now we are ready to start our preservation of the wood. And to do that, we're going to use boiled linseed oil. We're going to do multiple coats of it. And the first coat, we're going to use some odorless mineral spirits to cut the boiled linseed oil, because that really gets it deep into the wood. And we'll start off making it look, and then we'll do some 24 hours between coats. So basically we put a coat on, we leave it on there for about 20-30 minutes, and we come in, we wipe off the excess, we let it go in for about 24 hours, and then we'll put some successive coats. In the very last coat, we'll cut some tung oil in as a preservation. And then after that has dried for 24 hours, we'll get some wood finishing wax to give it a little preservation, a little and a little shine. So that's where I'll be doing this week, and that's where we are with the stock. Okay, we are going to show you where we are in the process so far this week in this Dutch Beaumont model 1871/88. So obviously it's been taken apart, and the stock we've already started on, I've showed you that, and now we're on to the metal parts. So where we are is I was able to get as much of the rust and the corrosion off of all the metal parts that I could. There is a little bit of pitting and a little bit of black oxide in the pitting. Could not get that off despite repeated efforts. We did boil and card all of this. We did sandpapering, started off at 100, 150, 180, 220, 320. We also did some vinegar and baking soda paste, and I believe we've gotten it to the best condition possible. But of course, as you can see, there is still like these little black oxide speckles and things that are here. So whoever had this before did a really, really bad bluing job. And they blued around the stock. So the underside of this, let me flip it over, is like it never had anything on it. But the top side, where the wood did not cover it, really, really bad bluing job. As a matter of fact, you can see right here where they blued around the end, the barrel band. And they even blued the bottom of the trigger. I just don't get why people do some of those things. So I was going to just leave this, what we call in the white, but with all the speckling and the pitting that we have there, I decided I'm going to go ahead and blue this back and do a proper bluing job on the barrel. And if I'm going to blue the barrel, then I also need to do the metal parts. So we did get all the rust and bluing off, the very, very bad bluing job off the barrel bands, as well as the trigger guard. But we're going to blue those back to match the barrel. We are not going to blue the bolt. The bolt, I was able to get a whole lot of stuff. With the bolt, we're going to leave in the white. We're not going to blue that. So we were able to get a lot of the rust, patina, corrosion, all that. There's no pitting. It's very, very nice. So we were able to get all of that off, and we're going to leave the bolt in the white. We're going to blue the barrel. We're going to blue the trigger guard. and the 2 barrel bands, as well as the Vitali magazine. So, and as you can see, that's my system where I keep everything separated with the appropriate screws so I don't mess anything up. So that is where we are with the metal parts. I'm going to leave the receiver as is with this patina, and we're just going to blue from the barrel going forward. And we're going to see how that comes out. As for the, okay, for the final part of this video, everything is done and completed. I think we got a really, really nice Dutch Beaumont rifle out of this. You can see we are all finished. We did multiple coats of boiled linseed oil and ended up with some tung oil, and then I did a wood finishing wax for this. We did re-blue. I think we came out really nice on the barrel bands, and underneath on the Vitali magazine here, and the trigger guard and everything. So I think the rifle came out pretty nice. So what I did for the buttstock, remember, somebody had cut off 2 inches and put this plastic recoil pad. It's like a dog or a elephant, I'm not sure. Just get rid of that. That's not to be on a military rifle. So what I did, since I can't add the 2 inches back onto the end, and I can't get an original Beaumont-Vitali, I did just get a generic metal plate. I blued it and I put some screws in. So at least it looks military, back to some kind of military configuration, because a plastic recoil pad would never have ended up on an 1800s Dutch Beaumont. So I did that instead. There's no way to get the original. The original one would have a top to it here, and I'm not going to cut that, nor could I even find an original Dutch Beaumont butt plate. So I just got a generic one off of eBay and did some screws, blued it, so at least looks like it's in some kind of a military configuration. So the last thing we're going to do is put our bolt back together. And of course, to do that, I always wear gloves because I hate getting my skin pinched in places. So first thing we do are these 2 pieces, and there's a little channel in here that, I don't know if you can, so there's a channel in the back here where the bolt head and the ejector ride. So you have to take the bolt head with this little pin, and then this is the ejector, and the ejector rides on the pin. You got to fit it in. The little top has to go in that little depression. And when I did, there we go. Now we're in. So that's how that ejector rides inside the bolt head. The bolt head has to be put in first, and that ejector has to ride in that. There we go. And the bolt head goes in first with that ejector riding in the little channel. Now we can put bolt back together. Very simple. We put the firing pin. We got to put it in there so it's in the uncocked position. Do it this way so you can see. So it's here. When it's up here, it's cocked. When it's down there, it is uncocked. There is a channel that it goes into, and then we have to put our V-spring in. So down in this little opening is where it goes. Remember, it goes into that little depression in the there. So, and then you got to hold it in while you put the bolt handle back on. See, there I got the pinched in there, and luckily it was not my hand. And now we put our screw back in. Okay, there. And now the bolt is back together. Now, before we can put it in there, we have to do the tough part, which is cock this bolt, which is not easy. So let me see what I can. That is a tight pin in there. Sometimes you just gotta try to push the pin so we can turn this. There we go. Now we're in the cock position. It's not easy. Okay. We got our cock. Now we can put it back into the bolt. It will slide into the bolt head. As long as the bolt head is in there properly. And then you put it down and we can put the one last screw that holds the bolt head to the bolt body. And it's easiest to just close the bolt like that to put it in there. And now we have our bolt completely put back together. And there it is. Dutch Beaumont-Vitali, model 1871/88, complete and ready to go into the collection. So thanks a lot for hanging out with me for 2 parts of the Dutch Beaumont. I think we ended up with a very beautiful rifle here. And this will go into the collection, part of the black powder cartridge collection. So thanks a lot for hanging out on Sunday Gun Day with me on part 2 and how we completely conserved and refurbished this rifle and made it a military piece of history. Very beautiful. So thanks for hanging out with me. We'll see you next Sunday Gun Day with a new firearm. Thanks. Bye-bye, everybody.